So a couple notes on fascism. Fascism. How much fascism is in America? Daniel Bessner. Now, I've heard this criticism, and I've actually heard this criticism from motherfucking 1984, George Orwell. And George Orwell is saying, oh, people just say everything's fascist. Everybody and everything's a fascist. I've never heard a single fucking person in my entire life ever call another person a fascist. In America, Americans don't know what fascism is. They couldn't define it. They couldn't, let alone point it out. Now, I know what a fascist is. And to me, a fascist is a violent authoritarian. A violent authoritarian. So Daniel Bessner, I think it's the exact opposite. The reason why fascism has no power because nobody knows what the fuck fascism is. But with a specific definition such as violent authoritarianism or violent bully, violent authoritarian, violent bullies. When I look around America, there's a lot of violent bullies. The cops are violent bullies. Corporations, government, there's a hierarchy. And if the cops are bullies and the corporations and the government are dependent upon the cops, there's an implied fascism there. In public schools, you got, security guards and cops, religion. Religion likes order. The state, that's top down. The governor on down. President on down. Mayor on down. The nation state. So there's violent authoritarians all over the place. Gangsters, child abusers, racists, cops, terrorists, sovereigns, criminals. That's fascist, and there's fascists all over so violent bullies. So why do people not say fascism? I mean, fascism is now meaningless. It's kind of meaningless, but it's not meaningless because of the hordes of anti-fascists. There's not a shit ton of anti-fascists in America. Instead of fascism, he suggests use right-wing extremism. Again, this is also incorrect. Right-wing extremism can either be totalitarian, which is strictly hierarchical, or anarchy. If you go too far right-wing, you say, well, the government which governs best is the one that governs least, or the one that doesn't govern at all. Anarchy, like the diggers, kind of like the Amish, that just don't have government. There's no government. So right-wing extremism, it's not extremism also. Martin Luther King pointed out that extremism isn't the problem. It's what you're extreme about. If you're extreme for love, community, family, justice. If you're extreme for justice, then you're a good man. So I feel like fascism is kind of meaningless, but only because Americans are dumb and ignorant about what fascism is, and it's everywhere. So fascism very much blends in with the natural territory. In fact, I heard a guy tell me that anti-fascist looks dumb and weak and like, what the hell are you guys even doing? The real people, the real men, are the fascists. So reverse American exceptionalism, perfect, terrible, powerful. So he's sitting there, criticizing Daniel Bessner. He wants to have his cake and he wants to eat it too. He wants to have the whole garden and he wants to have your food and my food and he wants to take everybody's cake. And he doesn't care if anybody else has any goddamn cake. He's saying that we shouldn't just say America bad because that's like reverse American exceptionalism. Oh, American bad. So, well, I guess we're even Steven. If you say that everything America does is bad, well, then we're even Steven. I feel like, no, I think that you got to consider that. Holy fucking shit, if we're the evil empire, I don't want to be the evil Roman Empire. I don't want to be the evil fucking British Empire. I don't want to be the evil Mongolians going around just terrorizing, rape, murder, control. I mean, that's that MS-13 kind of shit. That's criminal fucking shit. So, I have a lot of problems with this Daniel Bessner. I don't think he actually knows what fascism truly is. I've only heard Francesca Fiorentini talk about not liking fascists and being against fascism. Capitalist, anarchy, this is also right-wing extremism. So totalitarianism is terrible, but the end of communism is anarchy. And capitalist anarchy is kind of a blend of, No government, and it's all with competition. Capitalist anarchy, I would say, coming from a evil empire, having a capitalist anarchy philosophy would be a progressive step forward. Also, right-wing extremism is about the status quo. And maintaining the status quo could be maintaining, communist China, communist Cuba, maintaining capitalist imperialist Russia. He mentioned settler colonialism and, some other shit, but ultimately I was not impressed. I don't think he actually knows what fascism is. I want to mention real quick leftist fascism. Leftist fascism is self-defense. The principle of self-defense is constitutional and it's common sense. It comes from the state of nature. We have a right to defend ourselves. We have a right to defend others. You're telling me that anybody who wants to use violence on another person, if they just come up with some fucking police action, well, what stops a bully? When you think about a fascist, right? A fascist is a violent bully. So a bully goes around, give me your lunch money or else I'm going to knock you down. Well, the bully's going to keep on fucking with you. If you give him the lunch money thinking that he'll stop fucking with you, no, he's going to want your lunch money the day after and the day after. Now, you're going to have to knock him down, but you're also going to have a society that's going to recognize that you get to knock that bully down too. So if you have a fascist society, right, there's a hierarchy. It's superintendent, principal, teacher. They might not understand bullies because they're bullying the entire class. So you need a society that would allow you to knock a bully down, and the society would be on the correct side. Leftist fascism means you have a right to defend yourself. What kind of piece of shit would tell another person, no, you have to turn the other cheek until they take it all away from you? Abraham Lincoln is a leftist fascist. Fred Hampton, Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is fantastic. He comes out of slavery, and he said that either with words or blows, this motherfucker isn't going to knock his shit off. Either I got to knock him out or I got to convince him. I could use my words, but if my words don't convince him, then I'm going to have to use blows. And Frederick Douglass says when he became a dangerous man, when he didn't care whether or not he stood up and he was thinking, damn, I might get killed, I might die. But he says when he stood up that way against the slave masters, the white supremacist piles of shit, when he stood up against the violent fascist abusers, the right-wing totalitarian fascist piles of shit, that's when he got his freedom. That's when he became free in spirit. Fred Hampton wanted to feed everybody, the breakfast program. Oh no, he's got a breakfast program. That black woman who shot that black dude, oh, I bet I will. I bet I will. She tried to walk away from the scene. Dude reaches for her, reaches around her, looks like he tries to grab the gun or tries to grab something, and then he got shot. So I feel like leftist fascism just says, be a man, have a backbone, be a rock, be a good man. Don't be an oppressor. Don't be a predator. Don't be a sovereign. Don't be a criminal. Don't be a terrorist. Just be laid back and chill. Simple, positive, and progressive. Laid back and chill. Mind your own business. Work on your own stuff. And if shit goes down, be prepared to defend yourself. It's like Malcolm X's thing. Obey the law. Be nice to others. Get a job, whatever. But if a man ever lays his hands on you. Now, intellectuals bastardize fascism. So not only is America ignorant and people don't know what fascism is, and we don't look down upon fascism. Fascism is the norm. Fascism is all over the place. The person that says, let's build culture, and the person that tries to convince you, well, we laugh at that person. But a police officer who just beats the crap out of somebody, well, clearly he must have had a reason. Because a fascist is acting upon whatever he is acting upon, people go ahead. So intellectuals, another reason why America doesn't understand fascism is because intellectuals bastardize fascism. There is a comparison to Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany is probably, the main idea of fascism. Mussolini, FDR, but fascism, Nazi Germany. But Nazi Germany, they are fascist, but fascism is a general term. A fascist doesn't have to be a Nazi. All the Nazis were fascists, definitely. But fascists are violent bullies. You could be a violent bully and not be a Nazi. You could be a violent authoritarian pile of shit and not be a Nazi. So I think intellectuals bastardize fascism because they'll sit there and try to tell you that fascism has got to have like 27 elements. It's got to be basically everything that Hitler was and then some. It's got to be like this and that and this and that. And there's only one other definition that I'll entertain. And it's a bit of an intellectual, but it's the Mussolini definition. It's the FDR definition. And what fascism is corporatism. So there's two fascism, right? You have corporatism, fascism. Why not just use corporatism? I agree. But the point of corporatism, fascism, is when the banks and the capitalist society, all the corporations and the government join forces. Instead of the people and the government joining forces against the corporations, when the corporations join with the government. So just think about like when there's sort of unrest in the neighborhood, how the police make sure they protect the McDonald's and they protect the Arby's and they protect the corporations. They're not in the neighborhoods protecting people's houses. So intellectuals bastardize fascism and they make it seem like it only could be like this one specific thing or this other specific thing, and it's got to have 12, 15, 1,000 different elements in it, and if it doesn't have 15,000 elements in it, then it's not actual fascism. No, a violent bully, a person who says, give me your lunch money, a fucking bully who just knocks you over and laughs, a cop who is always terrorizing, a stalker, a person who says, do as I say or I'm going to use violence. That's a fascist, and that very much is a useful word. It's got a lot of useful meaning. For me, I found a lot of useful meaning into it. And then corporatism eventually turns into violent bullies, fascism, because you have the cops defending the businesses and the corporations. Jefferson Davis was a fascist fucking piece of shit, totalitarian fascist. He was a right-wing extremist, but he was a fascist criminal fucking... Not only did he want, a military dictatorship, but he also wanted a slave-owning society. So all black folks had to listen to just like 5 white guys, and then that was it. The rest of the white folks didn't have any power. That's what Jefferson Davis was fighting for. 5 white guys get to control all the manpower of black folks. It was an aristocracy. It was against America. It was a plutocracy, aristocracy against white supremacist dictatorship. Jefferson Davis was an evil fucking piece of shit. Fascist. Violent hierarchy was everywhere. The black man couldn't go anywhere. The plantations, a grocery store in town, to the bank, on the streets, in his home, everywhere. Everywhere he had violent bullies to deal with. Fascism, it was a white supremacist dictatorship. So those are the two main definitions for fascism: a violent bully and corporatism. Corporatism itself can descend into violent bullies, security guards, cops, nation state. I used to presume that the nation state has a monopoly on violence. And that can only, that's only, I was told that. And it seems like it makes sense because Colorado seems like it'll be a nation state forever. It'll be a republic, amongst republics forever. And since Colorado is a nation state that's going to be a republic, forever and ever, it would make sense that the police force would generally back the nation state. But all this is just theoretical. You'd like to presume some kind of general police force. If not the FBI, then some other kind of general police force. But we had the Minutemen, and we were always wary of standing armies. And then aren't the police officers standing armies? They stand around, and they'll go after when there's something crazy, I guess they're good to have around. But I think I would rather just get crime fighters in the neighborhood, just organize well-meaning neighbors, and we have weekly or monthly meetings, and we give a shit. And we talk about different strategies about how we stop the crimes and the criminals who are around. When government and business get together, then the cops just beat up the working class people because fuck you, McDonald's is control. No, fuck you, Walmart is in control. The corporations are the ones that control the buildings, and they control the streets and the cops, so therefore, get in line, working class. There's no unions, there's no say-so in terms of democracy and dictatorship versus the people. Who's afraid of who? Is the people afraid of the government, or are the government afraid of the people? If the people are afraid of the government, that's a dictatorship. So that's, mass fascism. Also, look at Biden in the debates. They don't want to have a fair election. Abraham Lincoln had a fair election, but Biden in the debates, he can win in two ways. You can either inspire hope, love, and peace. Elect me to be president because I'm going to deliver on this promise and that promise. Or just be a fascist piece of shit. Just laugh at people, roll their eyes at people, tell them to get in line. I think telling people to get in line would probably work, but you're risking too fucking much. You need to do both. Tell people to get in line, but also tell people to, be inspired, to reach for the stars, to be, all the man that they could be. Why not offer an inspiring message and program? Why not be inspiring? So by them trying to cancel the New Hampshire debates, by them going to South Carolina, they're fucking cheaters. This is fascist shit. It's a bunch of fascists at the coup d'etats in fucking Haiti. That's fascist shit. Overthrowing Libya. World hegemony. 900 military bases. ATF. There's a lot of fascist shit all over the fucking place. Mike Gravel, he says that you got to grab him by the scruff of the neck. LBJ, he said you got to twist some arms. And you do got to break necks, kick ass, take names. It's good to be strong, and it's good to walk tall, kick ass, and take names, definitely. Fascism failed. Communism failed too. We are democratic states that are tied to market economies. I'm just going to say we're Republican capitalist. We're all Republican capitalists. And since we're all Republican capitalists, that's what's won the end of history. We need to get on board with the truth. Liberalism defeated fascism. Neoclassical neoliberalism, classical liberalism defeated communism. We vote for our leaders, and once they're in power, they get to do what they want. And then it's tied to market economies. We have business ownership. But even in America, just like the fascism thing, I don't hear us talking about being capitalist. We don't talk about Milton Friedman. If we're going to be capitalist, then we would know Milton Friedman. We would know the principles of Milton Friedman. And really, he's only got like 2 restrictions. Don't be fraudulent, and no monopolies. No monopolies, and don't be fraudulent. So fascism will just say, shut the fuck up, everybody. Everybody just obey. Get in line, obey. And they're very much trying to do fascist. Now, the left-wing fascist, in some respects, you have to meet a fascist as far as a fascist is willing to go. So being a left-wing fascist, you're essentially a peace and love, freedom, peace, love, freedom hippie. Until somebody tries to put their hands on you, tries to put their hands on your wife, your kids, your loved ones, And the problem with right-wing extremists is that there's some Republicans that are okay. I love Abraham Lincoln. Conservatives. We've been arguing liberal versus conservative the entire time. So we could continue to argue about liberal conservative. What do we keep? What do we throw away? What's working? What's not working? What about the status quo is worth keeping? What about it is worth throwing away? We could care about the mind. We could care about the heart. We could care about people's emotions, care about the logic and reason of the thing. And we could care about the community as well as the individual. So it's okay to be conservative. It's okay to be a conservative. Okay, you're for individualism. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, you're for just spending within our means. We can't just give UBI checks out to everybody, but I think we have to, don't we? If you want to maintain capitalism, you want to conserve capitalism, then you would have to do UBI. If you did UBI checks, that gets rid of poverty, and it saves capitalism. It saves our Republican capitalist system. And small R Republican, not the Republican Party, just a democratic state. A democratic state is a republic. A democratic and constitutional state. I'll add the constitutional part. So the Civil War, I'll just end it off on the Civil War. So, it's not okay to be a right-wing, white supremacist, it's not right to be a fascist piece of shit. It is not okay to be a fascist. It's not okay to be a criminal. It's not okay to be a fascist, Confederate, murdering, pedophile, rapist, Nazi, KKK, Confederate piece of shit. No to Mussolini. No to genocide. No to mass rape. No to criminality. No to sovereign terrorism. No to criminality. That should be obvious. In the Civil War, big business and working class was actually working together. Today's the right-wing conservatives and the Republicans are generally for big business. The left-wing liberal Democrats are generally for the working class. Donald Trump has been using the working class rhetoric, so he's trying to skew the lines. But ultimately, during the Civil War, both the working class and big business, so both the Republicans and the Democrats of today, in terms of big business and working class, they are against the fucking wicked slave-owning fucking class, the slave-owning Jefferson Davis fascist piles of shit. Martin Luther King says, be an extremist for love, be an extremist for peace and justice. The U.S. Constitution says the point of the Constitution is to establish justice. Justice, justice, justice.